Yeah, so Doug, since it's just me and you, I'm sorry, you're going to have to receive.
I accept.
All right, here we go. Question number 1. Who should Jason Kelce be rooting for in the Super Bowl?
Okay, so I have an impression of Jason Kelce. I think Jason Kelce is fully on board and is rooting for the party. That's my impression. I think he was rooting for the party. Look, I don't know how you don't root for your brother and your brother's team. His career is over, and it's your brother. But I also wonder if there's an undercurrent of FOMO, like if the Eagles win, he missed out. And there's also might be an undercurrent of his ego. So I retired and they could win it without me. So I think it's very easy for an athlete in this particular circumstance to root against his old team and root for his brother's team.
So on his podcast with his brother Travis, he came out and said the most PC answer possible. And you can believe him, you cannot believe him, but he just said, listen, no matter who wins, he's going to be happy. Because one, obviously, if Travis wins, that's his brother, his family. And the other, if the Eagles win, he feels like a lot of his former teammates are his quote-unquote brothers as well. And he still lives in Philly, and he loves the fans and the organization. But, dude, come on. This is a no-brainer. You root for your brother, who's actually your brother. Blood brother. All right? Unless you're Aaron Rodgers, you always root for your family, right?
Yeah. Let me ask you this, though, since we got more time, since Gator's not here. Professionally, can he say that and get accepted in Philadelphia?
Well, that's why I get it.
Right. So, I mean, I get that you said a PC. And PC, it feels like, you're ripping on him a little bit. I don't know that he has a choice because I think those people would run him out of town.
Oh, and by those people, you mean Philly fans?
Philly fans, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Are they, level-headed fans? No, not really. Yeah,
No.
so he still lives there. But also, I think on the inside, though, Doug, you kind of touched on it. If the Eagles do win it without him, there's got to be some kind of like, was it me? And they did it without me and I don't get to celebrate? Like he retired without one, right, with them. I mean, not with this current team I'm talking about. And so maybe, that crosses your mind. But you got to root for your brother, Travis, man. Come on.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Should the NFL make the trade deadline week 17?
Okay.
Basically pushing it all the way back till the end of the season.
It would have been super convenient this year as the Lions kept having healthy players peeled off their defensive side of the roster. It would have been very nice if they had been able to make a few more moves. But I think it's kind of an overreaction. I mean, the one thing about the playoffs is that it's kind of your team. And if you can add guys right up to the end, that to me feels a little bit like cheating. Like, we're right at the end. I think you'd have more roster manipulation where bad teams trying to tank send out useful players to good teams trying to win Super Bowls. And I don't like that element of it because I think they'd be exposed to that possibility. I think having the trade deadline early enough that most teams still think they have a shot makes more sense.
Yeah, I mean, obviously this seems radical, but I don't think it is that radical if you break it down. Like, of course it would have benefited the Lions this year, but I think teams will always try to do what's best for their own organization. So the tanking thing, it doesn't really fly with me because, yeah, you're worried about manipulation, right, helping other teams, but trust me, the Cardinals don't care about the Lions more than they care about themselves, or the Bengals don't care more about the Rams than themselves. They're going to do what's best for their organization. Now, it might happen to help you and your playoff run, but they're looking for their future. If they need draft capital or whatever it is, or cap space, they're trying to get themselves into a better position. So I think pushing back the trade deadline, although it seems radical, I think it would actually be good for the NFL. Plus, could you imagine the trade deadline talk for just marketing purposes and sports radio and everything like that continuing on? Not just like, earlier in the season where, I mean, Brad Holmes even said at the end of the presser, he's like, it kind of like is a lot earlier than you want it to be, especially if you're trying to make moves to better your team. And nowadays, Doug, everyone's holding on to the very end anyways. Like the Bengals wouldn't even think about trading Trey Hendrickson, but maybe they would in week 16 instead of, week 12 or whatever it is, right? Or another team, because every team still wants to try to make it to the very possible end. I think they should really move it back. All right, Bill Belichick recently suggested that they rename the Lombardi Trophy the Brady Trophy. Should they actually do this?
All right, I don't want to overstate anything here, I was a Tom Brady fan when he was at Michigan because coaches told me he was the better quarterback, and the whole world at the time, fan base, thought that it was going to be handed to Drew Henson, who was incredibly talented and a hell of a quarterback himself. So I started defending Tom Brady. Well, what I came to understand was that Tom Brady heard about this, and Tom Brady, back then, appreciated it. But we weren't like friends, okay? So I liked Tom Brady a lot. And Tom Brady somewhat rewarded me by playing well, and it was good. But we're not like friends. But I like Tom Brady, okay? But this is too much. He doesn't mean that much to everyone. I mean, you do realize, do I want to call the Patrick Mahomes trophy if he keeps winning Super Bowls? No, people start to dislike you. He was incredible and is an amazing benchmark, and everybody doesn't have to, but you can kind of appreciate everything that he did. But you know what I think this is? I think this is about a devious way of Bill Belichick kind of roundabout honoring himself. You know how special that guy was? And then he says real quiet, and what we did together. And it reminds me of something that happened before. Tom Crean, when he was at Indiana, he was struggling to fit in there. There was a weird relationship with him and the fan base. I don't think the fans really liked him when he was the basketball coach. And he was a few years in, and he actually had a Big Ten championship team. And Indiana didn't put up Big Ten championship banners. They put up national champion banners. And Crean decided when they won the Big Ten, this team was so special and brought us back, we're going to put up a Big Ten championship banner. And he talked about the team. But what I really think he was doing was, don't forget, everyone, what I did. I did this here. And it did not feel genuine to me, and it didn't feel like it was, and this doesn't feel like it's about Tom Brady. It feels to me like it's about Bill Belichick.
Well, it's funny you say that because Belichick went on to say, like, listen, this is a player's league, a player's game. A coach can only do so much, but he's always said, hey, I could never have done this without Brady, Vrabel, Bruschi, Gronk, all the guys that they had. And that's why he, kind of jokingly put it out there. Maybe they should rename it to the Brady Trophy because the players make this game. I mean, what did Lombardi mean to you, Doug? And I think predictably everybody's going to say first thought is no. So I thought, okay, no, let's just leave the Lombardi Trophy. But what about the MVP of the Super Bowl? Maybe they should change that to the Brady Trophy. Right now, it's currently named for former Commissioner Pete Rozelle. Did you even know that?
No.
I think if you change it to the Tom Brady MVP award, people would know. And maybe this is recency bias, of course. We're currently living in this time right now where Tom Brady, is very relevant. But I don't know. I think maybe it would suck for Pete Rozelle and his family, I guess. But if they change that award to the Brady Trophy, I think more people might be on board. So maybe, but something to honor Brady, I'm not against that. The man did win 7 Super Bowls. All right. Speaking of Super Bowls, Doug, should people start questioning if Josh Allen will ever win a Super Bowl?
I think this is so dumb. I don't know why we do this. We do this all the time. We did it with, and I'm going to say something I hate saying because I have no way of knowing this, but I'm going to say it anyway. This is the same people. It's the thing I hate saying. This is the same people that said it about Peyton Manning or said it about John Elway. And I'm not sure why people like to do that when a player has failed in multiple summit ascents. Just say, hey, he can't get there. He can't get there. Must be something about him. Is it? Or is it just that the team he has isn't the best yet? And so I don't know why this blame assignment thing has become such a big part of sports analysis and that people love to jump on board and just point a finger at one individual, and we do it over and over again. And I do not endorse this line of thinking.
Yeah, this is just the way it is, Doug. I mean, I think, should you start questioning if Josh Allen ever wins a Super Bowl? Yes, especially from those that criticize Lamar Jackson. It's the same thing. No excuses. Shouldn't we be saying, he's only good at the regular season. He's just a running quarterback. He's getting carried by his defense and everything else. The truth is, though, Doug, it is really hard to win a Super Bowl. So I think those people, I don't think he personally should be asked, questioned that much. But if you did criticize Lamar Jackson that way, you need to criticize Josh Allen the same way. All right, the Browns GM, Andrew Berry, just said that he won't trade Myles Garrett no matter what the trade offer is. Is that dumb to say publicly?
Well, I'll just say this. If I were a general manager, I would never say that. I would never say that, even if it's true. In fact, everything that came out of my mouth would be a manipulation to try and elicit trade offers. Honestly, I would be trying to elicit trade offers all the time through press conferences. And I'm not saying, hey, he's for sale, but I'd be finding subtle ways to try and invoke phone calls to get people to call me about my players just to see how dumb somebody is. See if Jerry went on a whiskey bender and is going to offer me 10 first-round picks.
Well, yeah, you kind of just mentioned it. I mean, yeah, this was dumb to say. There's definitely a better way of saying it. You could say, hey, we plan on winning and Miles being a big part of it, right? Or I find it hard to imagine Miles not being here for a long time because your part of your job as a GM is to make this team better, whether that's with Myles Garrett or without Myles Garrett. The ultimate goal is the Super Bowl. You still want people to call and inquire about it, like you just said. You never know if Jerry Jones misses one of his pills that day and he wants to call you up and offer, everything. Jim Irsay may get drunk, be like, hey, what's going on? Hey, would you like, all this? And you have to give us is Myles Garrett in return. So you never just completely shut the door like that publicly. Even if you want Myles Garrett to be there forever, a career Brown, you can't tell everybody that. And then because what happens if you actually do have to trade him? You look like you're just a liar. And then Myles Garrett's like, what the hell, man? All right, Josh McDaniels is back for a third time as the Patriots offensive coordinator. How many times, Doug, can a regular person go back to a previous job?
I don't think there's a limit, and I think it takes a bit of humility and a lack. I mean, I'm not a particularly proud person. I have no problem with circling back to what worked before. It's the old Peter principle, right? You get elevated to a position of failure, and then you go back to where you were previously. And in Josh McDaniels' case, it's worked. Now, I'm not saying it's going to work again, but I have no problem with going back. And then again, I'm not particularly proud. I think that keeps a lot of people that don't want to sheepishly go back to their old roles. But you were great at it. Go back to doing what you were great at.
All right, so of course it depends on how you left, and there was
right.
They're willing to take you back. But honestly, I'm putting a number on it, Doug. 3. This is it. Josh McDaniels, you've hit your max limit for both sides here. This is getting embarrassing, man. Clearly, I don't mind having him back, and he clearly, he's not too prideful to come back. But I think this is it, Doug. At this point, once you leave, I'm sorry, sir. Your card no longer works and will never work again.
There you go. That concludes the Wide 9 Omaha 4 Down Around the League Blitz thingy.